final, and that's below the standard here.
Yeah,
that's how
I
good
know.
this program has been. It's crazy.
Right.
You look at that, and obviously you talk about the standard of it. You watched it, a heartbreak against Nebraska. What did go wrong?
Well, I think what we saw all season from the first match to the final match is that Wisconsin was a good team. They had never made the step to elite. They lost to most of the best teams on their schedule, and Nebraska beat them 3 times and took all 9 sets. I mean, that's crazy to think that Wisconsin played this team 3 times and didn't take a single set.
Sweep.
That says, and that says more to me about Nebraska. If you watch that game yesterday, it is impossible to get the ball on the ground against Nebraska. They're flying all over the place. Their defense is incredible, and they make even really good teams look pretty average. So would not be shocked if Nebraska wins the national title. That's a team I don't see a weakness on that team at all.
All right, let's talk some Packers. When you look at this team right now, they're lurking behind the 2-loss front runners in the NFC. That would be, of course, Detroit, who got decimated by more injuries yesterday, Minnesota, who plays tonight, and the Eagles, who put an emphatic beating on the Steelers, in which they limited the Steelers, Jim, to 11 plays in the second half. That is stunning right there. But the Packers are in a great spot, lurking right behind the lead pack of teams. How bullish would you be right now as a fan on their Super Bowl prospects?
Somewhat bullish, I would say. I mean, the thing that, I was thinking last night is it's most likely looking like the Rams are probably going to win, the West. So you're looking at a path that has you go to LA, a fully healthy team. I know you've beaten that team, but that's a fully healthy team now. To LA, and then some combination of 2 Detroit or 2 Philly. Now, can they win all those games? Yes. I think this Packers team could beat anybody in the NFC. Asking them to beat all 3 in consecutive weeks, I think, is the tricky part. But I think there's hope. Like I still think there's another notch for this team to go up. And part of that is it's hard to judge them right now because they're just not healthy enough on defense to know how good they are on that side of the ball. But like the way Jordan Love's playing, love the balance offensively. I think this has a chance to be a really good team. And what you hope is in 3 weeks, it finally hits its peak, and then you see that throughout January.
Do you feel like the identity for the Packers has changed this year?
Yeah, maybe a little. I mean, Josh Jacobs, I think, has changed what they do. Matt LaFleur's dedication to the run right out of the gates has been something we haven't seen. And a lot of that has to do with Josh Jacobs and just letting him be the workhorse in the first quarter and beyond. And then you sprinkle in some passing. And I think it's taken so much pressure off of Jordan Love. His decision-making has become better over the last month. And it just really keeps teams guessing. And last night they did a lot more end-around stuff with Jaden Reed. So I don't know. If I'm a defensive coordinator, I look at Green Bay and confused in terms of how to stop them. Because what do you focus on? What do you key on? Because they have so many young playmakers and they can beat you in a variety of ways. So that identity I like. I mean, the identity defensively is turnovers, I think, right? And those you can't always count on. But if this team is getting 2 or 3 of those a game, it's really hard to beat.
Sorry, I had to sneeze there. Real quick.
You all right there, Butch?
Yeah, I am.
Was that you?
Well, that was me. I had to sneeze.
I heard some weird sound there. Okay.
Yeah, that was me. Yep. Had to sneeze there. Real quick, as I got one left for you, I'm going to change to Badger basketball. Good win against Butler in Indianapolis. What were your takeaways from that game?
Yeah, again, the offense, I think, is I hate saying drought-proof because any team going to drought, but that's another team that can score in a variety of ways. I loved what I saw from Stephen Crowell. If you can package that and get that more consistently, that makes this team so much different. I think this is an important stretch, Butchie, for them the next month or so, because I think there's a lot of winnable games on that schedule. And if you take care of business in this stretch, I can see them going 5-1 or 6-1 over the next month. Then you put yourself in a really comfortable position from a record standpoint in the Big Ten. And when it gets tougher in January, and it's going to, there's a pretty brutal stretch coming up, then you're in good shape. So I like where this team's headed. I think there's a pretty big jump that team can make. And, like I said, I think Stephen Crowell determines a lot of where this team goes.
All right, I say this in jest because we haven't talked in a week, but hey, Jim, your QB1 just entered the portal. Remember when you said who's the starter next year for the Badgers?
Okay,
And you said, I guess it's Braden Locke.
Zabe, and you made me give a name there. I kicked myself for the next week because you made me give a name.
I
think
put
my
you on the
answer
spot.
at the time.
I know. Look,
Time there, I think my answer should have been unnamed transfer. That's
unnamed
that
transfer.
answer.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mystery
but
meat.
you gave me a name.
I know.
had to say Braden Locke.
Listen,
So.
were you shocked by that he was going to the portal?
I wasn't shocked that he left. I mean, he had talked after the Minnesota game that he was staying, but I've learned lessons now to not listen to guys when they say they're going to stay because a lot can change. They take a look at the situation. They're in a tough spot after games. So, yeah, it'll be a TBD transfer. We'll see. We'll see who it is.
Would you pay $4 million for Quinn Ewers, which is reportedly being shopped, that he's not good enough for Texas? He's good. He's just not good enough. And they got to move on to the Arch Manning era at some point. Would you take him at $4 million?
It's so much money, and I also don't know how much you've paid Carter Smith already and maybe Matoyer already. I don't have any indication what the finances are inside this program. I also think they're more than a quarterback away from winning.
No, I agree.
Being a big winner, so that's a lot of money.
I agree. Would you pay for the backup for Penn State who has entered the portal before their playoff game? Yay, college sports.
That's a tough one. What do you do to that, Zabe? What's the answer there?
They got to move the portal date.
January?
Yeah, they got to move the portal back. To me, that's the easiest
the only thing
solution.
I say to that, my only pushback against that is that you're screwing 95% of the kids that have to wait a month to figure out their futures. Here I understand that you are screwing the transfer from playoff teams, but that's a very, very small number compared to the other kids who have got to plan their life.
But my count, we'll go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Jimmy. I got to get out, my man. Jimmy Polzin brought to you by Geist Garage Doors as we get ready to turn into hour number 3. Wayne Larrivee will join us next. Ooh, is this a stick song? I think it is. You know what that means. Good luck.
We lived happily forever. So the story goes.
New Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus on Unlimited Ultimate and Watch 7 and Tab S9 FE 5G. That's up to $1,900 in value. So you'll save big on 3 great gifts. Only at Verizon. Service plan required for watch and tablet. Up to $1,900 value based on phone, watch, and tablet. Trade-in and additional terms apply. See Verizon.com for details.
Packers football and Miller Lite. Tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly.
I just want to say I listen to you on iHeartRadio every morning.
Download the free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts. 97.3 The Game is WRNW Milwaukee. Listen on the free iHeartRadio app for all your sports talk, podcasts, and music. Free never sounded so good.
Love under center. And he takes, hands it off to Jacobs, plowing the middle to the end zone. Touchdown! Howell in the shotgun, set back to his right, takes the snap, everybody out for pass, throw the middle, intercepted! And coming back is Edgerrin Cooper, inside the 35 to the number 30. Down he goes, near the 26-yard line. And there is your dagger.
Super minty mesh up there, Luddy, with the dagger, followed by Wayne's World coming to a post. Time to talk to Wayne Larrivee. He is brought to us by Steam Fitters Local 601. Learn more by visiting Steam and by the National Fire Sprinklers Association. Visit them at nfsa.org. Wayne, good morning. You look no worse for the wear, having been all the way out in Seattle, Washington, as little as 6 hours ago, or so it seems.
Well, looks are deceiving sometimes.
Okay, very good. Safe, easy flight home, I trust.
Yeah, no, it was fine.
Nice.
We got out of there at a decent hour. Worked out fine. I mean, the travel to and from a long flight out, especially, but we had some tailwinds coming back, and it wasn't too bad.
Nice. The streak is over. 11 straight games had gone to the home team in this series, Seattle and Green Bay, and now that is broken, and the Packers do it in methodical, crushing, emphatic fashion. Ground and pound, early, relentless defensive line onslaught. Injury to Geno Smith certainly ended any hopes of a comeback, and that is that. On a scale of satisfying 1 to 10, where would you rate last night's win?
Oh, pretty close to 10. And I'll tell you why. And we said it on the air before the game. The Packers are a team that's going to be in the playoffs. And we said, if you think the Packers are going to do real damage in the playoffs in January, well, they better win this game against a good Seattle team leading the NFC West, playing its best football of the season. They better win this game in December tonight. And they went out and they did it. And you mentioned methodically, while they got out to it, they played a great first half, guys. They scored on every possession they had, a couple of touchdowns, a couple of field goals. The Carrington Valentine interception of the end zone denied Seattle a chance to make it a game at halftime. That was just a great first half for the Green Bay Packers. Second half, maybe not quite as sharp, but nonetheless good enough to win.
Yeah, that's a great point about they didn't have as much motivation. I know a guy, Wayne, that played some pro sports that said teams that have things kind of wrapped up don't play as hard. I don't know if that's true or not.
I'm saying it's true.
You're sitting right there.
I am.
Hi, Brian.
Okay. I am worried. I am worried about it because when they do have it wrapped up, it does concern me a little bit.
Now you tell me that Ryan would take his foot off the gas pedal? No,
but mentally, players, the preparation is different. Like it just, what you've got with 3 weeks to go, especially if things don't go your way today and the Bears lose to the Vikings. Now
Brian,
all of a sudden
do you want to double down on your stance?
I'm doubling, I'm tripling, I'm quadrupling. Okay, I don't know what the 5 time is, but now, whatever that's called.
Because now they have even less to play for. At 99 point whatever POF
plus
they're at 99 plus POF.
Yeah, it does that does concern me. It does.
Well, part of what happens in these NFL games, and we've seen the Packers on the opposite end, getting pummeled. What was it, 28-3 by Minnesota, and they storm back and make a game of it. I mean, this is pro football. These athletes are good. Both teams get paid, and it's hard to dominate a team for 4 quarters. And at least in terms of Seattle, they kind of made a game of it. At one point, the scoreboard had it a one-score game, but they were wrong. And so we had to correct that. But at any rate, hey, the Packers led by 10, and they went on to kind of pull away, and it was fine. It was, the second half wasn't as dynamic as the first half. That's for sure. Look at the numbers, 134 yards on 30 plays in the second half, just 10 points. Almost the opposite in the first half when they had really ran the table with their offense.
A lot of guys went to bed last night, guys and gals, worried about Christian Watson. His dad this morning tweeted, he's okay, just took a cleat, is what his dad said on Twitter. So that's encouraging to hear. Christian Watson now, Wayne, has some esoteric stat I'd never heard of, which is he's the first player since somebody to have 10 receptions for 350 plus yards. Oh, Deshaun Jackson. That was the guy. First player since Deshaun Jackson with the Eagles to have a 10-pack that totaled 350 or more. He's become an amazing deep threat, not only with a tiptoe catch that was reminiscent of Jordy Nelson, but just drawing PIs because he blows by people.
Drew 2 of them last night, Czabe, and they both landed the Packers in the red zone. And this was one of the points of emphasis, I think, coming out of the bye week was they had to get this guy on track. I mean, he's the guy that's going to blow the top off of your defense. I know Jaden Reed's a heck of a receiver, don't get me wrong, but Christian Watson will literally blow the top off the defense if you get him involved, and they have. They definitely got him involved. Their receiving core, nobody had any more than 56 yards in receptions last night. And what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys caught passes last night of that game. So it's, you just, if you're a defense, I don't know how you prepare for that. You know that Watson can run by you, but who's going to have the hot hand? Will it be Kraft? Is it going to be Jaden Reed? Are they still going to try to get the ball to Dontavian Wicks? I mean, as a defensive coordinator on the other side of facing the Packers, I don't know what they're going to do. It's a hard thing to prepare for.
When you look at Matt LaFleur and the evolution of him and how he's grown as a coach, right? Being a first-time coach, thought there were some errors with maybe how you handled some things. You learn. That's the only thing you do is by doing it. The best way to learn is by going through it. How do you feel his evolution has been, and what's the biggest adjustment he's made over year one to where he's at now?
I think he and his staff do a great job of bringing a team together down the stretch. What they did last year, getting that team to shake off a 4 or 5 game losing, whatever it was. They didn't win a game for a month, and then they just kind of came on and started playing their best football in December and into January. I see the same thing happening this year with this team. I mean, they've kind of stumbled early on. They were good, but they weren't great. There was no 4-game losing streak or anything like that, but they're still the youngest team in the league, and they're kind of meandering along through the first half of the season. And now since the bye, you start seeing this team play a little bit better and better. I love the toughness factor. I had a chance to talk to Jeff Hafley. Coordinators don't talk to the media after games. They wait till the middle of the week for some reason. I don't know why, but Hafley and I have a relationship, and so we were just talking in the corner of the locker room last night. And I said, the toughness of this team is, what Green Bay has been for 30 years, okay? What Green Bay has been, and this is an outsider's view looking in. Green Bay, and that's not Hafley's, this is my impression. What Green Bay has been for the past 30 years, for the most part, cutting-edge West Coast offense orchestrated by a first ballot, not second or third ballot, not veteran's choice, first ballot, Hall of Fame quarterback. That's what the Packers have been.
Yeah.
They won 2 Super Bowls over those 30 years. In a lot of cases, they got beat by teams that were a little bit tougher than them, like San Francisco.
You're spot on.
Especially during the Rodgers era. But this year, there's a toughness about this Packers team, and it's not just Josh Jacobs running the football the way he does. It's permeating through the defense as well. This is a tough football team. And my gosh, the way they're playing up front defensively, Kenny Clark leading the way, this is a tough team, and they could be a load to handle. I would hate to be somebody out there in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. A year ago tomorrow, the Packers were getting torn apart by Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers, 34-20. for their second loss in a row after having Tommy Meatballs beat them in New York the week before. And then they almost fumbled the bag against Carolina on Christmas Eve, which would have been a disastrous 3-and-out because the season would have been over. Luckily, they won that game in Carolina, and the rest is history. Thank God for Hafley. Thank God. Who was it that found him, that got him, that forged that relationship? Was it entirely LaFleur, or was it somebody else in the org that went and plucked him out of Boston College?
I think it was mostly Matt LaFleur making that hire. But, you know, there are so many coaches that had a lot of respect for Hafley. I was with one of a former major college coach at Michigan and Ohio State, Greg Madison. And the first thing he said to me when I saw him, we were down in Florida during the bye week, and he said, man, that Jeff Hafley, he said, he is the real deal. He's going to do big things in Green Bay. And, you know, I think Hafley has a very good reputation, and rightfully so. And again, this defense is still evolving, guys. We're not seeing the finished product here, but this is a good, tough defense. Those cornerbacks will come up and hit you. Thing I like about Carrington Valentine, he's physical. Is he the best cover guy in the world? Probably not, but he's physical. If there's a running back leaking downhill outside the numbers and it's on his side of the field, he's going to come up and put a shoulder into him and knock him down. That's the kind of thing you want to see. You want wide receivers that block for the run. You want cornerbacks that hit against the run. That's toughness. That's a tough physical football team.
Yeah.
Wayne, that was my thing. Everything you said, I agree with, is about the toughness part of it. Because last year, 2 years ago, I called them front runners. I just didn't think. I thought when things were going great, they didn't. You know, they were a really good football team. As soon as something went wrong against them, you could just kind of see them, you know, escape a little bit, not wanting to, you know, put their face out there and fight a little bit. This team, I don't have that feeling. That's why I asked you about Matt LaFleur, because I feel like Matt's instilled that in this group. Like, enough of what has happened the last 3 years when we got knocked out because we've got punched in the face. I'm addressing this. Brian Gutekunst, he's addressing this. We're going to get tough guys. We're going to go get guys that want to fight through contact. All those things. That's why I'm really excited to see where this team is going. Leading up to it, I didn't think they'd go win Super Bowls because I thought a tougher team would beat them. I can't say that right now. I don't think a tougher team it's a clear-cut, you know, victory for that tougher team, because I think the Packers are extremely tough right now.
And you know, where I really saw it was in Detroit a couple of weeks ago. They got off to a bad start. Okay, the offense didn't fire the first quarter, first half, whatever it was. They get down to the Lions, and they just hang in there, and they start beating them. And they started beating them with the running game, and then the defense started asserting itself. And, you know, that was a heck of a comeback, and they led that ball game and probably could have won it. But at any rate, that's where I really saw the defense, because you know the Lions, if they're anything, they're tough. They're physical. And the Packers match that, even though they got off to a bad start. And so I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying.
All right, the division is most still likely gone. I said this morning, Wayne, I don't want to give up on it just yet. What is the best case realistic scenario? Overtaking the Vikings to be at least one step higher?
I think so. I think that would be realistic. You know, I don't know where Detroit's going. They've given up how many points? 70-some points now? 79 points in 2 games?
Yeah.
You know, I think the Packers exploited them a little bit and showed people where to get some points on that defense in the second half of the game that week in Detroit. And then Buffalo, boy, how about that? I mean, woo. You know, I know Detroit can score and all that, and Buffalo's not the best defense in the world, but that was a heck of a ball game, and Josh Allen was terrific. He really was. I think overtaking Minnesota, I don't expect the Bears to beat them tonight, but I think the Packers can beat them in 2 weeks, and that would be the big thing right there. And don't forget, Minnesota's got to play Detroit again.
Yeah. Wayne, I know you got a bunch of other hits this morning. We thank you, as always, for your time. Go do your business and then take a big fat nap on
All right,
me.
guys.
All right, pal.
Good being with you. We'll talk to you Friday.
There you go. Wayne Larrivee, brought to you by Steam Fitters Local 601 and the National Fire Sprinklers Association. Coming up, Mike Heller will join us, as he does every Monday. More on the whole portal situation. Butch, you wanted to get a point off. We ran out of time last hour. I want to hear what Brian has to say about that. I'm sure Heller has some thoughts, too. The sick new Pop-Tarts Bowl trophy needs to be discussed. Plus, forget crop circles, forget night drones, forget The best David Blaine trick, you don't know how it happens. I've got the greatest single mystery in the world right now, and it happened twice yesterday. How about that for a tease? Czabe and Butch in the morning rolls on. Hey guys, end of the year. Have you been putting off that new car purchase? Have you said to yourself, I think we can squeeze another year
you want to cherry pick that, I'll agree with you. But the rest of it, you're just never going to understand how terribly wrong it would be to go back to the old system where officials routinely miss egregious calls and you've got no recourse other than to say, well, they're part of the game.
Well, but they still miss egregious calls like face masks. They missed a face mask on Joe Burrow that was like insane last week. And I'm saying, why do we even have replay if we're not going to fix it?
For the reasons I just said.
I know,
now
because
move
you believe.
on.
Well,
now move on.
Well, you
Can't
believe.
Butchie, jump in here. Can't we do something different?
No, I'm
better
good.
than
I'm all right with
Help
this.
your boy out. He's losing the fight.
Yeah.
He's losing the fight. Help me. Help him get beat up.
No, we're not losing this fight. You egregiously pick the ones that jump off the page that they should have reviewed. And I'm not going to argue with you on that. I agree with you on that. You can fix parts of the system, but you want to go back to the old-fashioned black and white sports of which the officials egregiously miss a call.
They still
and you have
egregiously
no
miss calls.
recourse. I know, but so often we correct them, Steve.
I know, but I don't believe that getting half of the calls wrong right makes any sense. Because there's still wrong calls that affect the outcome.
When we bring
games.
emotion into it, would you have loved to? How about the Jerry Rice fumble? If you want to go all the way back to the last play that should have been reviewed before they brought review in. How about the play at first base with the perfect game in Detroit? How about the home run call that
game was in
isn't
May,
the home run?
Like, who cares? Yeah, I don't
matter.
worry about that. Look, there was a horse collar on A.J. Brown where he fumbled because he was in writhing pain at the goal line.
You ignore the Jerry Rice fumble. What about that? Where we have emotion attached to it. Now, do you view it differently?
There's mistakes in every game, and they can't fix them all. So why try to fix some?
But for everyone, Mike,
you say
went
egregious.
against, but Mike, for everyone that goes against, you want to talk about Jerry Jones. What about Des Bryant? What about all those other
Des Bryant is not a replay issue. It's a rule interpretation issue. The rule was so messy, nobody understood it.
Well, as a rule interpretation allowed by replay. With no replay, they would have kept playing the game, and they wouldn't have gone into microscope mode to go, well, technically, he didn't complete the process.
Well, if you wanted to go to replay, then the week before Dallas and Detroit, Detroit probably wins that game.
All right, maybe let's get on something we can agree on.
Please.
Let's get on something we can agree on, and that is the most unsolvable mystery right now in the world is not what these drones are. It is, why do players in football drop the ball at the 1 yard line on purpose? The great Jonathan Taylor, love him to death, great Badger, did it for the Colts yesterday in a high stakes game for them as they tried to stay in the hunt for the playoffs. The Bengals, their cornerback, Jordan Battle, did it on a fumble at the goal line, trying to switch hands at the goal line, switch hands in the end zone, you ding dong. And both guys lost their ball at the 1 yard line. Why? Why does this still happen?
Unanswerable. It is unanswerable. And Jonathan Taylor, of all the guys in the league that would do something like that, he would be way down my list. I would not have him on my bingo card of somebody that does that because he's never, ever been showy.
So my operative theory is just the simplest and most boring one, which is, you ever see the street hot rodding where someone will get their car souped up and start doing donuts and a crowd of people standing around watching it, do smoke circles, and inevitably it gets out of control and wipes a couple people out and maybe kills somebody?
Sure. Yeah.
This is the sports equivalent of it. It is reckless. It is stupid. You know it's dangerous, but people like to do it anyway because it's cool. That's my theory. What are your theories on this?
I mean, that's the only reason they do it, is to celebrate and to be cool and nonchalant at times about crossing the goal line. I don't have a theory other than they're trying to look cool. But I look at JT and go, that guy has never been that guy. So I don't know what got into his head in that moment. He's never been the about me, look at me guy. Period.
Okay, how
so
about
I don't
this?
get it.
How about this, Butchie? Why don't coaches ever light these guys up?
Well, that's
on
what
the
I'm
sideline?
confused with.
Why don't
is this
guys
not showing constantly?
Why don't guys get benched for this? Because I've never seen a coach after one of these go nuclear, which they should, or bench a guy, or after the game rant about it in front of the microphone.
I completely agree with you on this. Like, this is something that should be shown.
Why don't the coaches do it?
I have no idea. I don't know why. I don't.
My theory on that is there is one guy that tried to do it, Heller, and his name is Mike Singletary. Remember when Vernon Davis did some dumb showboaty hot dog and stuff?
Will not have
Can't have it. Can't win with it. Can't coach it. That kind of was the death knell for Singletary's coaching career. And he never coached again in the NFL. Now, maybe he wasn't a good coach, but he had it going a little bit with San Francisco. I know. It's not – he had it kind of going for a little bit there, and he drew the line in the sand, and I don't know if it ended his career, but it didn't help. All right, let's move on. Butchie, will you run by Heller your idea about the portal? Because we had mayhem in college football over the past 5 days. Marshall wins their conference, and their coach takes a job somewhere else. Then the narrative is he left the kids, and the kids felt snubbed, so literally half the team went into the portal.
Yeah.
That rendered them unable to fill their spot in the what bowl is it that they were playing Army in? Music City. They couldn't fulfill their obligation to play the Music City Bowl against Army, and so they had to back out. The bowl was in danger of being canceled for about 24 hours, and then they found a replacement.
Who is the replacement? Do we know?
It's Louisiana Tech, I want to say.
Okay.
Someone Louisiana. Then you had the backup quarterback for Penn State saying, God, gee, it's a tough decision, but I've got to enter the portal. I know we got a playoff game coming up, and it's next man up. You never know when you might need a backup to Drew Aller. I've forgotten this guy's name already, Mike Heller, but
Bo Kerbula.
Yeah, Bo Kerbula. So, Butchie, I was saying just move the portal window back. You had a note about that.
Yeah, well, and Jim Polzin said, yeah, but that, you're affecting 5%. What about the other 95%? And my response to Jim, which we didn't have time for, was going to be this. That's fine. The other 95% should take a month before they make a decision, before it opens up. Sit back and evaluate, because what happens is your emotions cool down. Your emotions are so high after the season because the people transferring usually didn't have the season that they want to have. You're not transferring the school that you're playing at if you're getting a lot of minutes, because it also means that you're probably going to get some more NIL, and the school's going to find that for you. So everybody's happy. The ones transferring are the ones that are put in a bad spot, didn't play a whole lot. Things aren't going their way. Well, it's okay to struggle. It's okay to fail. This is where we should learn how to handle failure and how to work through some of these things. So give them a month to evaluate it. Let them still, there's a little bit of a break, but they're still around teammates. They're still around stuff, and figure out if they can fight through some of this tough stuff. But instead, we open up the window right away when the season's over with and say, open up the portal. Well, you're forcing kids to do that because they can't evaluate that way.
Good point I endorse, but Heller, are there practical problems with that?
Yeah, there's huge practical problems. It's called the calendar. Okay. If you delay it it opened on December 9th, right? If you delay it until January 9th, well, the second semester begins, for most of these schools right in the middle of January. If they enter the portal on the 9th, you're gonna speed date recruit them and get them on campus for your second semester. So the calendar is the issue. You want the bigger issue, the better issue to resolve is that you get one transfer until you graduate.
Close the portal.
Close the portal. You can do it once. Now you eliminate a lot of it, especially the true freshmen who didn't get the playing time. Maybe they thought that they should get because they were great. And then they transfer, but then they're going to transfer a year from now, and then a year from then. Limited to one transfer pre-graduate. But in Marshall's case, coach leaves. I mean, that's the whole argument to begin with. Coaches have freedom of movement.
Why can't
shouldn't the players?
Yeah.
If a coach leaves and you can enter the portal, you should be able to enter the portal.
Well, and my argument, my counter argument to that is the coach is a professional. You're a student.
Well, they're not just students anymore. They're professionals. They're paid.
I know. So in other words, we now need a CBA, collective barging, entry draft, and all the trappings of a pro league. If this is going to be a pro league.
If you limit the one portal, I think it changes the landscape a lot. And Butchie's point, I agree with Butchie's point, with the exception of the calendar. You got to get these kids on campus for second semester, and second semester begins by the time he's going to open the portal.
Yeah. How about just get rid of going to school requirements? Since this is a pro league, who cares if they're on campus or enrolled in something called classes? Like, that's the dumbest, most antiquated thing. No, but who's opposed to cutting the portal to one time only? The coaches? Or is there a legal sort of rock they're stuck against that they would get sued if they try to
the
close the
NCAA
portal?
has lost every
I know
legal case they've ever been
all they do
in.
is lose.
Yeah, so I don't know if they feel like there would be
They want to go down into that.
Limits it. I don't know.
All right. Well, anyway, can we talk about the Pop-Tarts Bowl toaster trophy? This is the most amazing thing ever. Every time, Mike, I think I've lost my faith in humanity or society as it currently spirals into the complete cellar, I see this and I go, there's hope. The Pop-Tarts Bowl has created a new trophy that has a working toaster for 2 delicious pastries to pop hot and fresh out of it.
But
2. Yeah, 2. Out of the football in the middle. Man built this. It's amazing.
It's good.
It's good stuff.
Makes you hungry.
Makes me hungry for a Pop-Tart for sure.
What would you do to get one of those in your house?
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Would it, though?
Yeah.
Would it? To have that trophy in your house, to that be your toaster?
I know.
You would win every day. You'd get a trophy every day.
There's an update to Travis Hunter's girlfriend. Apparently, Travis Hunter went on a live stream.
Oh, he sure did.
Absolutely defending his fiance to the hilt.
Sure
I
did.
called him his girlfriend. It's his fiance. And saying that she has been crying and drinking all day because of the backlash to her not standing up, and the video of her saying, do I have to just sit here all day, while he enjoyed the pinnacle moment of his athletic
Travis, run away, my man. Run away. The crying part I'm fine with. But when he goes the drinking, that she's been drinking all day, she's been crying and drinking all day. Brother, you got nothing but problems on your hand, because you like run away.
All right. Now, Uncle Mike, who has raised a beautiful family and has done a great job, always in the running for Father of the Year. I need you to weigh in on this. What would you say to Travis Hunter if you were his dad?
Well, I think Butchie said it pretty well. If that is indicative, which I think it is, of what you're going to deal with and what you've got going on from a selfish standpoint, then it is time to reevaluate. And I think you should reevaluate. By the way, I voted him second in the Heisman.
Oh, you got a ballot?
Yes.
Nice. So you put Ashton Genty
Ashton
number
Genty was one, and Hunter was number 2.
Why?
Because Hunter, from a versatility standpoint, the anomaly of doing what he had done and the highlights of him. But Ashton Genty was the best player in college football. It's just that he played one position. Yeah. And I think that's the difference in the anomaly of Travis Hunter as opposed to what Ashton Genty did.
Why did you have to say why so condescending and annoyed, Butchie?
Because it was like, I mean, you look at a guy that's we've never seen in college football. We've seen running backs. We've seen running backs.
No, it was a very split vote. It was very close. And
I know. I'm just surprised. I also think there was a little bias because he played for Deion and then didn't like the way that Deion did stuff and the way they got into fights and did those things. I think
ask a more neutral why. Don't be like, why? Like he was dripping with what are you, an idiot?
I think it was
he's got the vote. You don't.
Butchie, you think I had an
I have an opinion. And my opinion's just as strong as his vote.
All right, but you think I voted anti-Colorado on that?
I think people did. I don't think you did. I think you're sensible, but I do think people did. Yes. Yes, I do. I 100% think there was a lot of anti-Colorado votes.
Who got a raw deal, Genty, or if he got a raw deal? I'm not sure he did. But whose non-Heisman is more heartbreaking, his or Melvin Gordon's?
Yeah, Melvin Gordon's was that was a case of they were about even going into that weekend of the conference championship game, and Melvin Gordon ran against Ohio State and got nothing. And Mariota threw against a skeleton defense like in practice and racked up like 450 yards in the Pac-12 championship game. If you were wondering going into that weekend, it was a one-game vote, and Melvin and the offensive line did nothing against Ohio State, and it was Mariota that did, He threw for 1,000,000 yards that Friday night Pac-12 championship game in front of 18 people that were, at wherever they played the game then.
Right. I love where the Packers are, Mike. I know you're going to talk about it a lot today, noon to 3. They're right behind the 3 cars ahead of them that are now starting to leak some oil. Got some things going on. Some people are starting to talk Packers as a real threat to make it to New Orleans. I like laying back in the draft here. We're right here.
You just can't hit that oil leak, man.
No. Exactly.
That's what I'm
right.
saying. I'm worried about oil. You sit it there, the head of you are hitting, but you can't drive over the oil leak.
Quick tease, Mike. How good do you feel about where the Packers are right now at 10-4?
I think they're going to finish at 13-4. But I don't think that'll be enough to win the division. It'll be an interesting spot to where that puts you in a wild card. And nobody wants to go to Tampa right now, and nobody wants to go to L.A. and play the Rams. Those two division winners that aren't going to have great records are going to wait somebody.
All right, which would you rather pick your poison, L.A. or Tampa? Stafford or Mayfield?
I'd rather play Tampa, and they're really good, but I'd rather play Tampa. I think L.A. with those 2 receivers, and if they're healthy, they're tough as nails.
L.A.'s got 2 studs, but Tampa has Mike Evans, who is a freak.
He is.